Welcome back to Cards and Comics. Today I am going to go over some recent pickups I have on my football card collection. Now, if you saw my national video, you'll have seen that I picked up one of my biggest football cards in quite a while with this Barry Sanders Essential Credential. Probably the best football card I picked up, vintage or modern or any kind of football card in a long, long time. So this is kind of some cards I've just accumulated the last couple months before the national and after, and I want to show them off. And the first card I'm going to show is a reminder to me why I don't get into box breaks or breaks. My buddy Andy, Andy Card Exchange, I sometimes get this wild notion to get into a break, and I got into a break of multi-products, and the team I had was the Patriots, and out of like $80 I spent, I got this one card here of Chad Ryland, number 230, I think, or 50. And it's just this really basic, kind of ugly looking card. Shows you like for $80, I should have probably spent that money on something a little bit better than a box break to get that one Chad Ryland card. So that's just my lesson. Other people, if you love breaks, that's great. But for me, that seems to be my fate more often than not, is to get a Chad Ryland instead of something really cool. Next up is the one vintage card I had in this whole football mail day. And it was just a card I picked up because it was so cheap. I just grabbed it. It's like $15. I believe it's this Joe Green from 1976. It's a 7. But I love cards like this. As far as when I was setting up at card shows, this was the perfect inventory to have in your boxes, to have just, I would have like a box of graded football cards, a box of graded, vintage cards, and Hall of Famers, and this grade for football are so cheap that it's a great entry price point for a lot of people who want to get a Hall of Famer and get, a vintage card, but can't afford, let's say 8s or 9s or cards from, let's say, the 60s. So it's a great looking card, and I love, and he looks really, really cool on the card too. So just a fun card, not very expensive. So next up is going to be mostly 90s cards. I believe probably all 90s cards, maybe one non-90s card. And we'll go here in this order. Now, the first card up is from a set you've been seeing me pick up a lot of cards recently of. In fact, I picked up Derek Jeter in this set, the totally certified platinum gold. And here is the Andre Reed. And so you can kind of get an idea of what this card looks like. Okay, this is the base card. On that Jeter I picked up, it was a subset card, but still a really pretty card. This is the base card. And you can see that has that pattern, that kind of shine. It kind of moves almost like a halo effect. Just a really, really nice looking card. Number to 30, so this is 29 to 30. And, Andre Reed. And the reason, besides loving this set, Andre Reed, Hall of Famer from Buffalo area, being the New York area, this is a cool card just to have. But I just love the set, and I love picking up Hall of Famers, football or baseball, in the set. So picked up an Andre Reed here. And I also picked up, in an auction, because I thought it went pretty cheap, is this Terry Glenn. So I've got both the Terry Glenn and the Andre Reed. I would love to get Barry Sanders. I do have the Reggie White in this card. So that was one of my bigger pickups this year on my Reggie White collection, was the totally certified platinum gold Reggie White. But you can see I got the Terry Glenn, and again, they're numbered there on the bottom, number 8 of 30, versus this was 29 to 30. So you can see them side by side. Pretty awesome looking cards. Next up is, again, one of my favorite sets that has both baseball and football versions. It's the Cut Above. And so, or basketball. So there's baseball and basketball versions of it. And the baseball and the football have this double die cut pattern, which I prefer. Whereas the basketball this is square cut. And I think it definitely makes the card look worse. That's not on the card there. I don't know. That's just like some tape residue. That's not part of the card, but it's a 7. And this card is really notorious for these little blades, I guess, notches to be damaged. And so if you click in on, if you go on back, you can see like here where there's a little bit of whiting on the tips, right there, right there, right there. So that could be the reason why this card graded 7. I don't know, maybe it has some other damage, but generally those little edges there are really tough to keep sharp. I've lucked out and graded 2 King Griffey Juniors, both 9s in this card, and one's still on my PC. So I've been lucky. The person who graded this card was probably hoping for a little bit more than a 7, but I love it because it was a little cheaper. Still, these cards and like a Barry Sanders, even in a 7, brings pretty good money. It doesn't really hurt the grade as much as, say, a vintage card, because these cards are pretty rare, pretty popular, and this is one of the nicer looking die cut sets ever made. So really cool Favre card. Next up, going back to the Buffalo Bills. This is just a fun card I picked up at the National, but I won't show off again. It is Thurman Thomas 97 Ultra Platinum Medallion. So this has the Platinum Medallion right here. You've got that foil pattern, which indicates it's Platinum Medallion. On the back, the one thing that this set, so this is 97. The 98 set is numbered out of, I believe, 99 or 100. I think it's 99. And so it's, the numbering really helps that set, and actually worth a lot more than the 97 set. And then they numbered them from 98 on. So this set is kind of an interesting, I think it's the first year of the Platinum Medallions. And so since they're not numbered, you don't see the huge premiums, but these are starting to go up. A Griffey just sold for over $600 in a PSA 8 last night. So that was a pretty good sale on that card. So I feel like they are getting more and more popular as people realize they're still pretty rare. And these weren't very easy to pull. So getting a Hall of Famer is just a lot of fun. Just like the Andre Reed and the Platinum Gold. Getting a Platinum Medallion, a lot of Platinum cards here, was a lot of fun. And it was, again, a national pickup. I want to show it off again. Next up is a 98 Topps Chrome Reggie White Refractor. It's a PSA 10. Now, they're not hard, overly hard to get a 10, but anytime you get a 10 on a 90s card, it's pretty cool. And I do think PSA is becoming much more strict on surface on these cards, centering on these cards. Chrome cards can be really off center and hard to tell based on the design, or just have surface issues that you really have to get the microphone out, or a microscope out, and really look at. And a lot of times on the back, you can have scratches on the back. So again, these cards are getting much more scrutinized, in my opinion, at PSA right now. So there is some cool Reggie White cards I'm looking at buying from some friends of mine. If I pull off the deal, if I can make it happen, I will. It's definitely, there is a few cards, especially an auto, a real auto, not the running back auto that you see on his cards sometimes from the 90s or 2000s in some cases. So I'm looking to get another cool Reggie. So stay tuned. Hopefully I can pull it off. Next up, in these cool new no-touch holders. Love the holder. It makes this card look so good. It's really crystal clear. These holders are great, these no-touches. I ordered the slightly bigger case, so I'll probably end up ordering the next size down for these cards, because you can see a little bit of the card curving a little bit just because the holder's a little bigger. But yeah, I love the holder. This card is, just a great looking refractor. So shiny. It's a great year for refractors. It looks just good. It looks so good in this holder. I would just, if I was going to go to a card show, I would just set it like this. And I guarantee you, a lot of people would look at the card and really think it's awesome, just as is. Just like this card here, this Under Pressure from Fleer Tradition. I never really paid attention to this set, but this card is like 1 in 288 or something. It's a tough insert set. You got the foil, you got the die cut. It looks awesome. It's so 90s. There's the back. And it's embossed. So it's like a poor man's 97 Finest Refractor. It's got embossing, it's got die cut, and it's shiny. So it's kind of like, hey, and it's pretty rare. It's 1 in 288, not as rare as the finest embossed gold refractors, but still, you got embossing, you got die cutting, and you got foil and shininess. Look at that. It is cool. And it looks awesome in that no-touch holder. So, again, they're just a little more expensive. The only thing, I mean, for my raw collection, if I'm going to keep certain cards raw, and there are cards I will always keep raw, I'm going to probably switch over to these holders to show them off. Like I have some Griffey autos that I'm not going to get graded because they'll grade like a PSA 6 with a 10 auto. And I'm like, well, that's might as well just keep that card raw. I mean, I don't know if grading really helps a card like that, but they'll look really awesome in this holder. So really, really like that holder. And then last but not least is a set that I don't really understand. I need to really investigate it more. It's the 99 EX Century Bright Lights, Barry Sanders. So here's a 9. I've seen this card in multiple colors, and I just don't know which is the rarest. There isn't a football cardpedia like there is for baseball cards, just to quickly look it up. So I need to look at some pack odds, go back and read about this set a little bit more to really understand which color is the rarest, or does it matter? And was it done on purpose? Was it a parallel? I don't really know. I just, I saw this card and it's a cool acetate. I'm waving my hand through it. And, I mean, it's kind of like a lime green. I would characterize it. So I think it's a cool card, and I've seen other colors, so I'm just kind of trying to figure out what is the rarest version of this card. But that's the last card in here. Honestly, as I talk about in a prior video, getting into more of the 90s and selling some of my vintage cards to buy 90s, that includes football cards. So I will be selling off some of my football cards to fund more 90s purchases. But I like to reiterate, because some of the comments kind of like it's all or nothing. It's not all or nothing. I will always have a collection of cards, vintage cards, football and baseball, that I will always keep. There's certain cards I just love and I'll never sell. It's just all the other cards that I don't really care about as much that I can just move and get more cards I care about, and a lot of them are right now 90s cards. So, but again, I still want some vintage cards. So there are some vintage cards out there I'm still looking for that I would love to get and add to my collection. So hopefully I can add a lot more of those cards, both vintage and 90s cards, to my collection pretty soon to share with you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you next time on Cards and Comics. Bye.